three states in my head. This was for how I looked at consciousness. So you have the king that makes the orders, you have the warrior that carries them out, and then you have the magician, which is like the charisma and everything else. So it'd be like the king's the will that tells the guy, okay, I know your body wants to save those 4 calories, but I am telling you that you need to follow the orders. And by repeatedly following orders, that connection between you and the king is going to be better. Yeah. Then the warrior is the guy, the body that does it. And then the charisma is the mind, right?
So you have 3 voices in your head, Luke.
3 voices in my head all the time, basically.
Yeah. Do you know some people don't have any voice in their head? That's what I wanted to speak to before. So like you said, you have a conversation with the guy in your head. The thing that startles me the most is I think something crazy like a third of people that have an internal dialogue. They don't have a guy that they speak to. Well, like you got 3. I reckon I've got about 12.
They're 12 different characters, but I think, they don't have an internal voice at all.
No.
Okay, well, maybe that's to do with evolution or some other subject that we talk about. But for me, that's the thing I've always thought about, like questioning yourself. And I don't understand people that don't do that.
No.
Maybe that makes me a little bit more insane. I never thought about it like that before. But
well, let's admit that we both have like a Ferrari engine for a brain and like bicycle or like foot for brakes, just our own feet, like Flintstones feet, just to slow it down. So I'm sure that we get stuck in some thoughts here and there.
Well, okay, maybe, but I was going to give again, talking about in the gym and training and coaching and this you said, use the word, I'm trying to remember now, talking about consciousness, and you said about people being conscious in sessions. And you were saying that this is something that I found, maybe again, this is my Ferrari brain that you described it as or whatever, but my like understanding of the room when I'm on the tatami and I look around the mat. This is how I've always felt, and this is going to make me sound like an absolute arrogant prick, but that's fine.
If the cap fits.
If the cap fits, exactly. But when I'm on the mat, I feel like I'm the most engaged person there. And when I'm in a room, I can almost sense the people that are like glowing and the people that aren't. I've had this ability, if you want to call it, ever since school. Like you have the low energy, low vibration drones sitting there doing the thing that they think they're supposed to be doing because they're told they're supposed to be doing it, but never questioning why they're doing it. And then you have the guys that are looking and assessing and being like, okay, I've been told to do this, but why am I getting told to do it? I'm told to do this because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, but if I do this, this happens, blah, blah, blah. That's how my brain will operate. And I feel like most guys, because talking about MMA again, if you're going to be MMA and you're going to get any good, it takes a long amount of time. It's not like 6 months and you're brilliant. It takes years to get good at something, like everything. Repetition. But when you are training twice a day, every day, 6 days a week for 10 years, you then get stuck in this like monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. And I think this is probably the most for me personally, I think is the most important bit of advice for young fighters or young people doing the same thing over and over again, and this is why they don't make it or they don't get where they want to go, all that sort of stuff, because they get stuck in this monotony and they show up and they're there and they do the work like everyone else, but they have no conscious effort in the training session. They're not switched on. They have no direction, no understanding. I call it well, I can't remember what I call it because I've been hitting the head too much, but like having that intention, that's the word I'm looking for.
There's no intention, is it?
Intention. So if you're just showing up, you go to the session, the coach is there, you've got a good coach, so that coach is telling you, okay, today we're working on 3-punch combinations, we're going to step right. Okay, great. 3-punch combinations, step right. And you do exactly as you're told and you don't question it because you have no intention in the session, you take away 10% of that session. But if you go into a session with full intention and understanding, and you used the word being present in that moment, you take everything and more away, because then you say to coach afterwards, this was good, but I thought about this, and this. And the way I managed to do that for so many years, because it does get a bit monotonous, is going to every single session I had with a goal in mind of what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to do. So when I showed up to the session, I used to do this thing, like training journaling, where before the session I would write down how I feel, what I want to achieve from the session, and you know, any past experiences, but that would be the main thing, how I feel and what I want to achieve. So, okay, you know my team, or our team pretty well, but I would train with the guys called Jack and John, like Jack Mason and John Maguire, and Jack Mason had a great guillotine and John Maguire had a great Kimura. So every session if I was a jiu-jitsu session, I would go to these sessions and how do I feel, whatever, and then intention not to get guillotined by Jack Mason. That would be an intention for a lot of sessions, or not to get hit with an overhand right, whatever. Then I would go to that session, and after the session, I would review, and I would be like, okay, how do you feel? Is it the same or less? Because sometimes you feel like shit, then you feel brilliant after a session. Sometimes you feel low after a session. Sometimes you feel good, but you feel low after whatever. And then you could assess it. And then afterwards, I would write down if I achieved what I wanted to achieve from the session and what I learned from the session. And I did that forever. I stopped doing it, to be honest, like 3-4 years left of my career, and I think that's why I started going downhill. But that mentality, I don't know if you teach your guys that. I know you do reviews at the end of sessions and stuff like that, but I think that's the biggest mistake I see in gyms consistently, is they just show up, oh, coach is going to teach us half guard passes today. Okay, half guard pass, half guard pass, half guard pass, leave, forget about it.
Forget about it.
So
thank you, mate. Honestly, first of all, what I love most about reading podcasts and reading books is something like this, is just for a long time in my life, I thought I was the only one. Honestly, I thought I was the only one that thought like this. In fact, a lot of people will tell me you're too intense, you're like obsessed, this is uncomfortable. The word they used throughout that whole thing is the biggest, most important word in my life. And I think it started being about a decade ago. Someone said it to me. I was doing a weightlifting session, which was questionable. But as I was lifting, it was like, if you want to lift the bar, it's all about your intention. And I walked away from it. I was thinking, 1 second, everything's all about your intention. Like whatever I intend to do, I will do if I keep doing it, like you said, by consistency and things like that. If I intend to be consistent, I'll probably get where I want to get to. So it's like, thank you, mate, because for a long time in my life, in fact, probably the reason I am a coach is because of that. Because I thought I was on my own in terms of how intense I was, the obsession I've got to be like the lads at the gym call it like the unquenchable thirst. You've got the unquenchable thirst, and along the way, it's like how do you harness it? And especially when other people are saying that you're wrong and they're right, and that you shouldn't think like this. And people that you've trusted, maybe your parents, your family, no one understands everything like that. Like, what is your intention? What is your intention? Like, my intention doesn't stop. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I think about, my intention is to think about how I can improve people, how I can improve myself to be the best that there is going. Do you know what I mean? So I forget the question now. I've been going on about.
It wasn't really a question. It was more just a statement about me talking about, because you were saying that within your goal, or one of your goals, is that people can have transferable skills. They can become the best that they can become, and all that sort of stuff. And I was just saying, one of the, not a bit of advice, but how I see it is that I think that was like, now retrospectively looking back at my career, that was the only thing. Because let's be honest about me, I started fighting when I was 18, 19 years old. I was not an athlete. I was never athletic before that. I still don't consider myself a high level athlete compared to some of the athletes that you deal with on a daily basis. But I had this mentality.
You found a way to make it work for your mentality. And I disagree with you in some points, but I appreciate and I respect the way you frame yourself. So it's just like reflective practice is really what we were speaking about, isn't it?